accept their excuses? No, he didn't. You know, he made it very clear. There was no ambiguity. When Satan tempted Eve, she knew all the details. She said, no, we can't partake of this. She knew, clearly. And then, of course, Satan tempted her, well, you'll be like God, you'll do this, you'll, etc. And she partakes of it. She saw it was good for her. And then we see the result of that, the consequences, how heavy they were, how death came into the world, and the consequence of sin. We learn in just the first 2 or 3 chapters
special set aside for that purpose?
Well, I've got an old rickety car. I think it'll hold up sitting out back. Why don't we use it?
Because he wanted to make sure that it was done correctly.
It was the best, too. I mean, don't you? Again, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm trying to read too much into this. This was a big deal.
And David wanted to make a big show of it, too.
I'm confident, and that would be even good for all the people to know that we're going to well, the prayer that James led, talking about, the glory of God and so on, how he is to be hallowed before us and exalted. I think that's exactly what, not just any car would do. We want a brand new car. We want something the wheel's not going to fall off. I think it shows something of his attitude here. That's my opinion. Okay? And they carried the ark of God in a new cart out of the house of Abinadab, and Uzzah and Ahio drave the car. Now, later, I'll have some things to say about these two men as far as their background coming out of the house of Abinadab and what tribe they would have been associated with, as far as what we know anyway. All right, verse 8. And David and all Israel played before God with all their might, and with singing, and with harps, and with psalteries, and with timbrels, and with cymbals, and with trumpets. Under the Mosaic law, I find no evidence, and I don't know how Milton feels about this. Tom's not in here. There was no command in opposition to instrumental music. Psalm 150. There's other places. I don't think there was this is a violation in any respect. But what, given the context, and again, put a peg here for a moment. Let me step over here. Why don't we use mechanical instruments in worship today?
Because we don't have a command to do so.
The melody's in your heart. It's not an instrument.
We sing and teach with our voices.
If it was an instrument, everybody in the room would have to have an instrument.
And Ronnie is correct about I heard three statements and all three are correct. We have no authorization to in the New Testament. What we are striving to do in the New Testament, to simply bow the knee, speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. We have no authorization, no command. The examples we have of the New Testament church is all singing. It's a cappella. And yes, Colossians 3:16, Ephesians 5:19 says we are teaching one another, we are singing, make a melody in our heart to the Lord, etc. And that's why we do it. I'm confident we could find someone to play some type of piano or organ if God had so commanded. All right. Regardless, here the Bible says they were played with all their might, with singing, harps, psaltery, cymbals, trumpet. What's the occasion like?
It's a celebration.
I think that's it exactly. It is, I'll paraphrase this and say something we would say in East Tennessee, it's a big deal. All right, so, again, what would you say their intentions were? Impure? I don't see that. Would you say they are sincere? I would.
It seems like they are filled with joy at the thought of returning to what God had told them to do.
Isn't that admirable? I think so, in every respect. But again, it's something that Mary said at the beginning, we're going to learn something about the nature of God. And why did this happen? So people like in 2025 that learn from it. I think it's why it's recorded. It's why we have this. Okay. Verse 9. hold this flag and they kneel down and they give it to the widow, and, you know, a certain saying and so forth, they're very careful that don't, oh, it fell on the ground, pick it up, do it. No, they're very careful with holding this and handling this. Imagine here this. So when this oxen stumble, again, my assumption, two-wheel cart, it would have really shook. And if you, I mean, why was Uzzah even back there to begin with?
For stabilization, to make sure something didn't go wrong.
I have no other understanding or thinking of why this man would have been stationed, one in front, you can read that in Samuel's account, the other behind. What would have been his, why even was he there? For that very purpose. The oxen stumbled, the ark shook, he puts forth his hand to stabilize it. I can't interpret it in any other reason. What happened?
He struck dead,
Why?
because you're commanded not to touch the ark.
No. I mean, that doesn't make sense. I mean, look at all the people. I mean, look at our intentions, our purposes. We have such joy, and we want to worship our God, and we're calling upon God to bless this day, and we're returning to you, God. And because a man touches this ark, you kill him? Now, that's how David felt. Read on. Yes, Ted's right. He had to be right. Just joking, Ted. You are right. But let me, for the sake of this, let's read this. Let me get down here. Verse 10. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and he smote him because he put his hand to the ark, and there he died before God. Verse 11. And David was displeased because the Lord God had made a breach upon Uzzah, wherefore the place is called Perazuzah. I can't pronounce that. Perazuzah to this day. And David was afraid of God that day, saying, how shall we bring the ark of God home to me? Now, if you look up the word displeased, it almost carries with it the idea of anger. If you read Samuel's account, 2 Samuel, the account there, you get the same idea. Or maybe it's 1 Samuel, but regardless. Why was David, again, just take the King James, why was he displeased with God?
I don't think he understood that all this effort was put forth, and we're doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
How come, why would you do this, God?
That's exactly, and I tried to illustrate that in my silliness a moment ago, but that's exactly right. I mean, why would he have felt that way? Look at all the trouble we've gone through. Look at all the joy. Look at all the happiness. Look at our intentions. Look at our motives. Do you think he was sincere? From every indication I read this and the other account that we have of this event, I see he was extremely sincere. And God turns around and puts him to death. He was only trying to do what he thought was right. I'm talking about Uzzah. And David's displeased. He's afraid. In other words, listen, I don't know what to do here. I don't know how to please this God. I mean, isn't that a fair assumption, given the circumstances when he says he was afraid?
You go even, to me, even a step further with Uzzah. It wasn't that he planned to
That's right.
do it. It wasn't that he thought, I'm going to do this even though God's, it was a reflex,
And I believe that was why he
But
had
it
him
still
back there.
didn't change the commandment.
Yeah.
And there are those today that say, there's your God, and punish this person trying to do good. So, that disproves there's a God because he's supposed to be a loving God. And he wouldn't do that to his people, but they have to read the whole count
That's right.
about the tribe of Levi, who's carried on their shoulders and all that. Well, you probably.
Yeah, if that's where we're going in a moment, sure. But, and then, I'm tempted to go into application now, but we may wait till we get to the end of this. But there's a lot of application we can make today about people being religious, sincere, and I don't doubt the sincerity, I don't doubt any of that. But then you look at actions, and it's said, none ought to carry the ark of God but the Levites. For them hath the Lord chosen to carry the ark of God and to minister unto him forever. David learned some things. Now, let's drop down here a few verses. Verse 12. And he said unto them, Ye are the chief of the fathers of the Levites. Sanctify yourselves, both ye and your brethren, that ye may bring up the ark of the Lord of Israel unto the place that I have prepared for it. Now look at verse 13. And I'm using an iPad here. My Bible's down here. And I would just about wager money that if you looked up 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 13, you're going to find it underlined. For because ye did it not at the first, the Lord our God made a breach upon us, for that we sought him not after the due order. David now understood why Uzzah died. Because we didn't do this the right way. We didn't do it after due order. David has learned, as we're going to see here, that only the Levites were to do this. They were to carry it on a cart. Before I even read it, how were they to carry the ark of God?
With poles through the rings.
Staves, poles, through rings in each corner of the ark, that they were to carry it. They being who?
Levites.
The Levites, that was their occupation, that was their job to do all these sorts of things, but they were to carry this ark of God on staves, poles, and did God expect them to do it?
Yeah,
Apparently
that's why
he
he
did.
said it.
Only the tribe of Kohath, nobody else could do it.
Pardon?
Only the tribe of Kohath is the only ones that authorized to do it, nobody else.
All right, good. You know, the tribe of Levi.
Yes.
Yeah.
So David, I mean, he learned this shortly after. I mean, it wasn't a long time.
Well, they took the ark of God, they sent it back to one place, and you're talking about blessings. This place is blessed, and David, yes, in some time, I can't tell you exactly how many days or whatever, but he does come to this knowledge. But read it again. For because he did it not at the first, the Lord our God made a breach upon us, for that we sought him not after the due order. So the priest and the Levites sanctified themselves to bring up the ark of the Lord God of Israel. And the children of the Levite bare the ark of God on their shoulders with the staves thereon, as, another verse to underline, as Moses commanded according to the word of the Lord. And David spake to the children of to the chief of the Levites to appoint their brethren to be the singers with instruments of music, psalteries, harps, cymbals, sounding by the lifting up of the voice with joy. And I'll stop
Lord commanded Moses. Today, it's as the Lord commands in the New Testament.
That's the principle we learned from the Old Testament. Yes, and that's the benefits of this. Let me read to you some of my notes, and I had this under discussion. Was David trying or intending to do the right thing in the sight of God? And I'm talking about when he moved this ark. What do you think his intentions were good?
Yeah.
I can't. I would sure. Why did God choose a new car to carry the ark of God? We already discussed that. Why do you think He did?
Respect.
Yeah, I want the best. That's the way I interpret it. Why did David want all Israel to attend this event?
Because it was important.
Yes. And he wanted to engage all the people. Listen, we're going to strive to serve our God. I think that was his intention at this time. Why did Uzzah touch the ark?
To try to protect it.
Yeah, and as you well stated out, I stated earlier, I think it was a reflex. I think that was his purpose for being back there. He didn't want anything bad to happen to this. And it's tragic, and I mean that, tragic. Why did this man die? Why didn't God go about, I don't know, you ever grab hold of electric fence? Sure, we've all done that. Or maybe those of you who do some every electrician I know has been shocked some. Well, why didn't God just shock him or something? I can't speak to the mind of it. Scotty, I apologize. I never got to you earlier. Go ahead.
Well, since you brought up Uzzah again, he died because he touched it. Why didn't the people that put it on the cart die?
I mean, that's a good point. Maybe they lifted up with
I mean, were
staves.
they Levites?
I never thought about that. I don't know. I don't know how they did it, number one. I don't know who did it, number one.
I know it don't say, but I was just,
Yeah, I've never thought about that. Pardon? I assume they didn't. Ted?
We don't read here that Uzzah was eternally damned for what he did. There's no record of what happened after that or God's condemnation on him permanently. Just that it was said, if you touch it, you will die. So the rest of that is left up to God, whether he judged
I understand.
Uzzah, differently.
And I agree. Let me read on. Was David displeased with God for killing an arm? We already know that. Why was David then afraid of God? I'm talking after this event happened. Why was he afraid of God? I don't understand.
felt betrayed,
Pardon?
felt betrayed.
Betrayed? Maybe. I've done all this work and we're doing what's right. And God, why?
No, because he knew, even though he didn't know at that moment what the reason was, he knew in his heart that God is just and that there was a reason. And he
Yes.
knew that there was something that he did not understand or he wouldn't have gone back to study.
Now, and I am not God. You all know that. Connie knows for sure. And I can't speak for the mind of God when I don't have information given from God. But I've read this and I've pondered and I've wondered why here on this occasion, and Scotty brings up a valid point, which I can't answer, I don't know the details, but was it not for us? Was it not for
beyond this, in the future, you find prophets coming, or judges, whoever, I don't remember, it's more than one person, coming back and saying, let's go back and look at the scrolls and see how God said to do this. They come back from captivity. They go back and they study to see, how are we supposed to do this? Maybe they learned that from David and this situation, to look and see how to do it before they tried.
Our time is pretty well up, so I'm going to pass the word come in. You remember when